This unit is focused on the fundamentals and basic concepts of IT service management, and we are going to cover the area of services. A service is a means of delivering value to customers by facilitating outcomes the customers want to achieve, without the ownership of a specific cost of risks. As an example, let's think about an online bookstore that transfers the responsibility to manage risks and cost and provides added value by providing the service that the user wants. In this case, it performs tasks, manages risks and constraints, and optimizes costs. Services can be classified under two categories, internal and external services. So internal services are those delivered to business units within the same organization. And the idea is to support activities within this organization. An external activity is the one that is delivered to an external organization and it results in a business outcome. Continuing with the definition of a service, it's also important to understand how within the organization we handle a service, and that's why we implement service management system. So first of all, it's also important to define what is a service management. And basically, service management is the effective process-driven management of transforming IT resources into valuable IT services. And here is important to take a look at what are the concepts that are involved within the service management definition. So we can identify aspects like capabilities, resources, service assets, customer assets, and business outcomes. So let's start by defining what is an asset. And basically an asset is any resource or capability. Following with this definition, we can basically say that resource is the direct input for the production of services. For example, money, infrastructure items, applications, information, and people. On the other hand, if we want to define capabilities, we can say that are the assets that represent the organization's ability or knowledge to do something to achieve value. For example, management, organization, processes, the ability to coordinate, the control, the people's experience and skills. So it is important to understand that the capabilities requires resources to deliver value. So in this context, a service asset can be defined as any resource or capability that could contribute to the delivery of a service, for example, an IT service, to a customer or business. You can select an asset to be managed for operational, financial, or contractual purposes. Assets can be one of the following types: management, organization, processes, knowledge, people, information, applications, infrastructure, financial capital. If we talk about customer assets, we can define them as the assets used by a customer to achieve a business outcome. And these assets make use of the IT services to enhance their performance or to remove some constraints. Customer assets are not just people. It could be people, but not only people. It can be their systems, information, business processes, etc., which is enhanced using IT services for better business outcomes. As I mentioned before, people also can be, and very often are, the customer assets for IT service. The service provider has to define a service always in connection to the specific customer assets to which the utility or of the service is delivered to. So every service has been defined, planned, designed, and delivered with specific customer assets in mind. Let's use an example to clarify the concepts presented in the previous slide. So let's talk about the internet service for a business. So that will be our service, providing connection or connectivity, internet connectivity to a company. In this case, we can identify the service assets as, in one hand, resources that include the network infrastructure, the professionals, and the software of the internet service provider, let's say Claro or Movistar. They are using their infrastructure, they are using their professionals and software to deploy a network and provide the internet access service. What are the capabilities of the internet service provider? Let's say the professionals' experience and their skills. There could be more like the management system and so more. In this example, what are the customer assets? In this case, I'm not talking about Movistar or Claro. I'm talking about a business that is paying for the internet access service. Let's take an example of Almacenes Éxito. So what are the customer assets for this case? One case or one example could be the information systems of Éxito that make use of the internet or the cloud. That's one example. Another example of a customer asset is, for example, Éxito has its own network, and they use internet, the internet service provided by Claro or Movistar, to connect to the different locations they have in the country. They have one location in Medellin, in Bogotá, in Cartagena, Barranquilla. So they connect all these locations using the internet service provided by Claro or Movistar. Another example of a customer asset is the e-commerce platform to sell products to the company's products. So basically, they use the internet, they use the connectivity to create and mount the e-commerce platform that makes it possible to sell online products. What is the business outcome of the use of the internet access service? You can see, for example, in one case is the selling of the products. It's one business outcome. Thanks to the internet service provided by Claro or Movistar, Éxito can deliver or can develop a customer asset or can perform a customer asset that will make possible to sell products. That's one example of a business outcome. Another business outcome is, for example, the integration of the different locations of Éxito in Colombia. That's another goal that is achieved by Éxito thanks to the service provided by Claro or Movistar. Having the information systems in the cloud or internet, it's also another business outcome for Éxito, because later on they can use this information, they can use this data to deliver new products or new services. So following with the explanation of a service concept, it's also important to understand what is a customer and how they are categorized. We can find a customer in the internal and external relationship. Internal is a customer who works in the same organization, for example, the IT service provider. And external is a customer that purchases services from the service provider under a legal contract and are not employed by the organization. So what are the IT challenges? And I will ask you to think back on the example on the internet service provision. And we can identify some challenges associated to the provision of IT services. The first one is that the nature of the output is intangible. So there is a service, in this case internet, but you cannot touch it. You can perhaps measure the performance, measure the indicators in terms of bandwidth, in terms of speed, but as such, there is nothing concrete that the customer is receiving from the operator. It's just a service. The output is hard to control, measure, and validate. And as I mentioned, what are the intangibles associated to the service provision? Yeah, you can get some, uh, let's say, quality of service indicators in terms of, again, bandwidth, in terms of speed. But what are the benefits? What are the associated value to the service provision for Éxito? Is nothing that you can easily measure or control. The demand is associated with customer assets. And let's say in this case, we mentioned in the previous example that the customer's assets were the network infrastructure or the network connectivity, the e-commerce platform, yeah, and the possibility to integrate the different locations. So if Éxito decides that perhaps they want to expand their business and to extend their operation to a different country, let's say to Ecuador, to Peru, to Venezuela, then they will increase their demand. Their demand for more internet access service will increase, and then the operator, Claro or Movistar, has to deliver a new offer and a new added value to this customer demand. In this case, another challenge is that there is hardly any buffer between the creation of a service and its consumption. It's like immediately you create a service, there is immediate consumption. And immediately there is a demand, there is an immediate need for creation of a new service. And the service capacity and the output are perishable by nature. This is another challenge. And perishable means that it's likely to die or decay. So it's important to keep growing in terms of quality, in terms of always responding to the customer demands. This is something that you have to keep in mind when developing IT service management systems. In order to face the aforementioned challenges, it's always good to look at the IT service best practices because they will offer us a guide about how to handle these challenges and make the best of what we are developing. And IT service management is the implementation and management of quality IT services that meet the needs of a business. So it's important to keep in mind that when we are developing or creating a service management system, the concept of quality is highly important. And it's also important and keep in mind that we need to offer a response to the business needs. In this case, when we define IT service management, usually it includes best practices followed by many organizations. And the sources of best practices are, for example, existing public standards published by, for example, the ISO, the International Organization for Standardization, industry practices that are shared among industry practitioners, academic research, and internal experiences or an organization's past experiences in providing similar devices or services. So these practices can be categorized as public and private practices. Public practices are those that are widely distributed through public training and certification, are applied across various technologies and businesses, are available for free, and organizations can hire people with the knowledge of such practices. But there are also proprietary practices. Those are deeply embedded in organizations, are highly customized to serve specific business needs. The owners expect compensation to be paid or rewarded by the use of these practices, And the evolution of such practices depends on the owner and cannot be guaranteed. In terms of the benefits of implementing IT service management, it's worth to mention that, first of all, we want to guarantee quality service in the provision of the service. We want to also get a cost-effective service quality. We want to develop, and we will develop, services that satisfy the customer, the user, and the business demands. And we are offering a centralized and integrated processes structure. The homework for this unit consists on finding one example of a service different to internet access. That's the one I provided in the lecture, and identify the customer assets, the service assets, that of course includes resources and capabilities, and the business outcomes associated to that service. Prepare a short presentation, no more than 5 minutes per presentation, record it, and present it in groups of maximum 3 people. This is mandatory, groups. Besides these slides, write a document with a summary of your work, no more than 1 page, and include a link to your presentation in this document if you recorded it and uploaded it to YouTube. Please upload your presentation and the document in a separate way. Only PDF and PPT format. No zip, no RAR, or doc files will be accepted. The homework for this unit is as follows. Please read the paper, an overview of IT management, and prepare a short presentation about the text. This paper is available in the virtual platform. Take into account the following. Presentation shouldn't be longer than 5 minutes, and you should include maximum 4 slides. Include the definitions of IT management and why it is important for an organization. Record your presentation, and please develop this homework in groups of maximum 3 people. Besides the slides, write the document with a summary of your work, no more than 1 page, and include the link to your presentation in this document if you haven't uploaded a PPT version. Please upload both your document and the presentation in a separate way. Only PDF and PPT format will be accepted.